All right, hello, what is happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Beyond Spray and Pray 1000. I am your host, Spray and Pray 1000, and today we are going to talk about big E3 recap. I know I'm about 2 weeks late. I kind of took a little bit of the month of June off just to kind of relax, sit back. And E3 this year wasn't too pressing. If you want to watch any of my coverage for it, it's on my main channel, which, I mean, assuming something horrific goes wrong in the future, is the channel you're watching this on. So, without further ado, pretty much right off the bat, EA announced Battlefield 2042. It's pretty much their big game. They talked about it. They went into details about it. Some of the big ones that I jotted down really quickly was that you have 64v64 multiplayer matches on PS5, PC, and Series X. The 360... I'm sorry, not 360. The Xbox One and PS4 version will only have 32v32, which is pretty nice. It's actually kind of... Oh, hold on. Yeah, okay. It's actually kind of cool to have a game that will have 128 player battles, which is... I mean, it's not unheard of, but it's actually kind of cool to be able to say that, wow, we have a full-on, fleshed-out game where, probably the biggest modes and everything will have this kind of player size, whereas on the last-gen consoles, I guess, at this point, it's the typical 64, which was set, I believe, in Battlefield 4, which is fine. That's kind of good. It'll have reduced map sizes and stuff because of the console limitations, which is, it is what it is, right? Again, I think the only thing that you can really complain about is the availability of these consoles, which is admittedly pretty weak this time around. Beyond that, there was a tweet where Beyond Good and Evil 2 is still in its early stages of development. Now, oh, and by the way, Battlefield will have no campaign. Does it surprise anyone? Not really. Battlefield campaigns, with the sole exception of Hardline, have not been pretty good since Bad Company 2. Beyond Good and Evil 2 is still in early stages of development, which is also kind of meh. The game, how many times does it have to be re-announced and shown off and advertised and talked about? And to think that it's still in the early stages either leads me to believe they really didn't make any work on it besides a couple trailers and ideas, or they had to restart development at some point and just didn't say it. And given that the original game, what is it, a 2002 game? Fuck me. Is it? I think it is. 2003. The original game is 18 years old at this point. After a certain point, I kind of just gotta say, I'm glad it's happening, right? It's glad that, I'm glad it's not canceled. It's still coming along very nicely, but the original game, I feel like I'm gonna be 20, I am over 20. I feel like it's gonna be more than 20 years since the original came out before we actually get to play the sequel, which was teased in 2008 and was then re-released in the 2011 era when they would re-release a bunch of these games like Sonic Adventure and all that. And then the prequel, or the prequel sequel, pre-sequel, whatever, is been shown off 3 times since then. It's kind of ridiculous, but whatever. At least it's happening. It's just a little bit of a letdown that there's not really any news on that front if you're looking forward to that game. Beyond that, when we get into E3, because EA didn't show up at E3, in fact, EA's press event isn't even happening until July 22nd. They're rumoring that they're going to bring back a fan-favorite game. I'll just skip ahead and tell you that, which a lot of people are speculating to be Dead Space. Now, I'm not going to get my hopes up. I know exactly how EA operates, and even if it is Dead Space, who even is to say it's not a multiplayer game or some weird, not single-player survival horror type of game, and it's not even going to have the same feel as what Visceral did. Visceral, in my opinion, was one of their best studios, and they just constantly threw away that talent, which really makes me sad. So, in any event, it is what it is. I'm not going to get my hopes up. Their thing hasn't really happened. They just showed off Battlefield, basically, because they know that's what people want to see. People want a more modern Battlefield. They kind of delivered. It's near future, but when Black Ops 2 came out, that was near future, and now it's still future, but it ain't that far off by comparison. Getting into E3, Ubisoft led the Vanguard. Ubisoft led the Vanguard with Rainbow Six Extraction. Now, You might remember that originally there was a Rainbow Six game that was going to come out that was more based around Rainbow Six Quarantine, which was based around zombies and viruses. But because of the real-life global pandemic, they decided to change that into a game about aliens and other things, which is fine. It's fair enough. It's 1 to 3 player co-op. Your operators can get captured and everything like that, and it's coming out on September 16th. I'm not really that interested, but I think it's at least a cool take on it. You know, it's kind of like a lot of shooters have these weird, different kind of takes on things, so I can't totally blame them for it. I'm just going to list off most of this because it's pretty straightforward. Rocksmith Plus got announced. Riders Republic, which is a Viking game, is coming out September 2nd. As for Rainbow Six Siege itself, they're going to have crossplay. I think crossplay might already be in, but cross progression is also coming as well. So if you want to play on different consoles and stuff, you like what I've said they should have done 10 years ago with a lot of games. You just log into your publisher account. I don't know how else to call it, right? Like everyone who plays Siege has a Uplay account. Everyone who plays EA games has a EA Origin account or whatever it is. You know, all these things are served server side or saved server side by publisher. You know, it's nice to see that it's finally going to be a thing, so we don't have cases like, you know, in my case, Battlefield 4, where all my stuff is saved on my 360 saves, which is on its own thing, and I can never access it, and I have to. That's kind of why I never rebought Battlefield 4, because I could like if I play Battlefield 4 a shit ton, you know, by the time Battlefield 4 gets re-released, I gotta buy all my stuff back or earn it again. I just think that that's dumb. For Honor is getting a new expansion. Trackmania was shown off. The Turtles from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are in Brawlhalla. Crew 2 is getting updates. The Watch Dogs Legion DLC was talked about, featuring Aiden Pierce, so I'm actually kind of interested in that, but depending how much stuff I burn through, I may or may not even get around to Watch Dogs Legion until who even knows when. They showed off Ghost Recon Breakpoint because it's the 20th anniversary of Ghost Recon. Why the hell did I put Just Cause here? What the fuck? I'm so confused by my own notes. I don't know. Why is Just Cause in the Ubisoft category when that's a Square Enix game? I was really fucked up typing some of this. For Assassin's Creed Valhalla, they have the Siege of Paris DLC, where they're going to try to go back to the more Assassin's Creed 1 style assassination missions, which I'm looking forward to. If you haven't checked out my Assassin's Creed Valhalla playthrough, I have an extensive playthrough of that game on this channel. It is my longest playthrough ever, clocking in at something pre-DLC at like 99 hours, give or take, maybe over 100. I could look. I don't even think I have the tab open. It is my longest playthrough to date. I highly recommend, well, if you want some long form, I think you'll be very satisfied by it. But I did also play Assassin's Creed. I played the DLC as well, the first one which came out, which was Wrath of the Druids, I think it was called. What was it, Wrath of the Druids? Yeah, I played that as well. I absolutely love it. I think it's some of my best work by far, and I hope, you know, check it out. I'm looking forward to Siege of Paris, and apparently there's going to be a year 2 or at least more DLC in Valhalla. Maybe I misunderstood it, but my understanding is that there's going to be more DLC. I guess because they are not making an Assassin's Creed this year. I think it's pretty straightforward, actually. They're not making an Assassin's Creed this year, so that's fine. I guess we'll see what they do about it, but until then, I'm fine with it. I think that Valhalla was satisfying. It wasn't better than Odyssey or Origins, but it was satisfying. I'm glad they're going to bring back different types of gameplay, and apparently major story plotline development is going to happen as well. So we'll see what happens with that, because it's kind of what I wanted them to do with both Odyssey and Origins. I wanted more DLC out of those games, and at least we'll get it for one game, right? Far Cry 6 is going to have a Villains DLC. They also showed that off a bunch. They actually showed it off later, I think, in the Xbox presentation. And for the last 2 games they showed off, they're making a new Mario and Rabbids game, which I really don't care about. And an Avatar game. Yes, the Blue People game. Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. I don't know anything about it. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm probably never going to talk about this game again because I do not like Avatar and I do not like Mario and Rabbids. Both of those games are coming out in 2022. If you like it, I hope you enjoy it. I'm never talking about them again. Devolver Digital had their conference. They usually make like funny little side gags and everything, so I actually kind of enjoyed it. The Devolver Max Pass is something that they threw out, and they had a couple of games. I like Wizard with a Gun was kind of cool that they showed off, but they showed off stuff like Trek to Yomi, Phantom Abyss, Wizard with a Gun, Death's Door, Inscription, Devolver Tumble Time, and Demon Throttle. For Xbox in my opinion had one of the better E3 presentations. They showed off Starfield, which they didn't really show it off per se. Really all they did was just show a cinematic trailer, but it's okay. They talked about it like being a Han Solo style game, and it's an Xbox exclusive because Xbox owns Bethesda now, which is actually in my notes. I have it listed as Xbox/Bethesda because Xbox bought Bethesda. That was the big story, I think, either earlier this year or late last year. I don't remember when it happened. They showed off Stalker 2, which is also an Xbox exclusive. The Left 4 Dead devs are making Back 4 Blood, which is also going to come out this fall. I didn't really put down a ton of dates. I was kind of like half writing down some of this during the podcast or during my stream. Contraband, Sea of Thieves has Jack Sparrow in it, which already came out. The Yakuza series will all be on Xbox. Battlefield 2042 will launch on October 22nd. As you can see, EA kind of just let their stuff be shown off in other places as well. 12 Minutes has Daisy Ridley and Willem Dafoe, and it's coming out on August 19th, 2021. Psychonauts 2 actually has a release date, which is August 25th, which is actually kind of cool because Psychonauts is like a platformer. I think, was it on PS2? I think it might have been on PS2. I don't think it was on GameCube, but it was on Xbox Original and PS2. Fallout and other Bethesda games will be joining Game Pass because Microsoft has basically cornered that market so efficiently with Game Pass, and I think it's really actually kind of cool that they have so much on it. If you want to play it, you could get a lot of games like old school history and stuff and just play some classic games, and it's really inexpensive for what you can get out of it. Fallout 76 Steel Rain will be coming out July 22nd, and there's going to be a DLC that takes you back to the pit, which was previously explored in Fallout 3. Which is cool, I guess. Fallout 76 is a known disaster piece, so hopefully it's better. I haven't really paid attention to it or followed it since then. I kind of doubt it, though. Elder Scrolls Online will be getting an enhanced console version. Party Animals, which is like some weird Mario Party style game. It's a console launch exclusive. Hades will be coming. Somerville. Now, here's the big one that I really, really looked forward to. Halo Infinite will be having free-to-play Halo multiplayer. So if you just want to play the multiplayer for Halo Infinite, it's free to play. Like, you don't have to pay for it at all. And since Microsoft made basically any game that's free to play, you don't need gold to play it. Like, that was a change they made, I think, earlier this year or something like that. I might have covered it on the podcast. You could play Halo for free. Like, the new Halo game, the newest Halo game, you don't even need to pay for. I think that's a pretty ballsy move. Now, if you want the campaign and probably like other stuff added into it, you got to pay the $60, to unlock the rest of the game. But if you just want to play Halo multiplayer, you're free to do it. You're free to just chill and enjoy it, and you don't have to do anything about it. You just owning the Series X is good enough. And honestly, that's a ballsy move. That's a big brain move by Microsoft. I can't even hate them for it. I think it's an ingenious way to get people on the console. So credit where credit is due to Microsoft. I mean, that's fucking cool, man. Like, rock on. I got no complaints about that. I'll definitely be checking it out. It probably has crossplay and everything enabled as well. So if you want to just play with your friends on different consoles, you could just do it. You could just have fun. Diablo 2 Resurrected is dropping on the 23rd of September. Plague Tale is getting a sequel called Plague Tale Requiem in 2022. Far Cry 6 will be coming out October 7th, 2021. Slime Rancher 2, Shredders, Atomic Heart, Replaced, Grounded is getting an update. I forget when they even talked about that. Among Us will also be getting 15-player lobbies. I don't know if that already happened because I don't even play Among Us. I played it literally one day. Now, what I was kind of interested in is Microsoft is releasing a new JRPG called Yuden Chronicle and Yuden Chronicle Rising. Now, Yuden Chronicle Rising will be coming out in 2022. I think it's more action-oriented, whereas Yuden Chronicle is coming out in 2023, and it's going to be a more traditional JRPG. I think it was shown off more at Square Enix's thing, or I forget who's publishing it, actually. The Ascent comes out on July 29th. Age of Empires 4 comes out August 28th. And they announced Outer Worlds 2... Microsoft Flight Simulator will be coming out on Series X and S on July 27th, 2021. Forza Horizon 5, and lastly, a brand new Xbox exclusive, Redfall, which will release in summer 2022. So Microsoft basically had like the most normal conference next to Nintendo, spoiler alert, where they just showed off a ton of games. I think a lot of people will generally concede and agree that Microsoft and Nintendo had the best conferences by far, because they had the most to talk about. They had the most going for them. They had the most in the pipeline, because Sony didn't even show up, probably because Sony doesn't have much to really talk about besides maybe like God of War and the new Horizon game. Square Enix is going to be having they had their conference, I'm sorry. They're making a Guardians of the Galaxy game made by my favorite developers, Eidos Montreal. So there's no Deus Ex game yet again for the 5th year in a row. Great. I'm losing faith. I don't care. Final Fantasy 1 to 6 will be getting a pixel remaster for Steam. It'll be the original games ported and treated, given a once-over and remastered. Now, what's cool about this is that they already have Final Fantasy 3 and 4 on Steam. The 3D DS versions are already on Steam. However, I think, patched them recently. If I look in my Steam library, they patched them to say 3D remake on the side. Yeah, they patched and updated at least Final Fantasy 3's what's it called? The back art. Yeah, March 24th. Well, it might have happened sooner than that. Which is kind of cool that these games are going to be getting loved, because I think Final Fantasy 3 is going to get its original version ported to the 360. Or, I'm sorry, ported to Steam. The original version that never came out in America. It was like Wonder Swan or something, and an NES version that never came. It was never localized because of the whole Final Fantasy original localization thing. And that's kind of cool, because, if you want to actually play that bit of history, that key bit of Final Fantasy history, you can. And you don't have to, do weird, English patches, and I'm always a fan of that, right? I'm always a fan. I like it when you could play the games. They've given it the once-over. They've given it the official treatment. As long as there's a legitimate way to buy and play it, I'm cool with it. I could support that, reasonably priced and everything. I think that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Legend of Mana is also getting a release. It already came out June 24th, 2021, which already happened at the time of this recording. There's a bunch of mobile games that they're doing. As again, mobile games are big in Japan. They're also big here. I just don't really partake of any of them. In fact, if you want to know my closest definition of a mobile game, I actually should unplug this. I was playing that was kind of weird. I was playing which one is this? Oracle of Seasons? Yeah, I was playing Oracle of Seasons on my 3DS. I was playing also some other Pokemon games and stuff, because I still play my 3DS. I got good stuff on here, I got a lot of good stuff, and they never really let you... Nintendo's backwards compatibility is such shit. I really hate it. It really could be 1,000 times better. But anyway, yeah, I like being able to play stuff like that. I think it's cool. So they're making stuff like Hitman Shadows, Near Reincarnation, Final Fantasy X Brave Exvius. I have no fucking clue what it is. And then there's a Final Fantasy VII battle royale called Final Fantasy VII: The First Soldier. And I'm like, wow, that would be pretty cool if it wasn't a mobile game. But whatever. Babylon's Fall is being developed by Platinum Games, which is already a good sign. It's a live service game, which is usually kind of iffy for me. Usually I'm not a fan of games that are live service, always online type of deal, unless they're like MMOs, which is kind of the whole point of the game. They talked a little bit about Life is Strange. I'm not a fan of it. Life is Strange True Colors comes out September 10th, so good for you guys. They're also remastering Life is Strange, and I think whatever DLC sequel there was to it, which is funny. They're skipping Life is Strange 2. but I'm not going to talk about that. I mean, even though this podcast is the literal perfect place to talk about it, I don't want to get bogged down on Life is Strange because it really doesn't even matter to me in the first place. Anything I say about it, you could discard it because I have no intent in playing it. I like the memes about it, but that's about it. And lastly, they showed off the demo for Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins. Now, prior to E3, I think it was a podcast or so before this, they rumored that they were going to be releasing a Final Fantasy 1 inspired game, which was going to be more action oriented and more mature. Well, they showed it off. It's called Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins. The memes from it have been amazing. Chaos posting is one of my new favorite memes that have come out. It's being developed by Team Ninja and Koei Tecmo. Out hopefully in 2022. They have a demo out. It didn't work initially, but apparently now it does work. That's really it from Square Enix, which is why a lot of people, it wasn't really that great. They even talk about like Endwalker at all. You know, like they got other things in the pipeline. They even talk about Endwalker, which is whatever. Capcom showed up and they talked about Resident Evil Village and Resident Evil Versus, which goes live this month, and there's going to be DLC for Resident Evil Village, which I'm looking forward to because I actually enjoyed Resident Evil Village, so that would be kind of cool to see what goes on and how they progress the Resident Evil story, because I'm a fan of the Resident Evil story, I'll be honest with you. I love it. Monster Hunter Stories 2 is coming out, which is July 9th, 2021. I'm sorry, hold on. I'm sorry, I'm not really tired. It's just I'm relaxing right now. I actually was interested in it because it's more of an RPG, but I got so many RPGs in the pipeline, I'm not even touching it. I gotta play so much shit, right? I gotta spend the next month just kind of pounding through stuff. Monster Hunter Rise will be getting DLC and crossover with Monster Hunter 2 stories. And lastly, because Capcom didn't really talk about too much, the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, which is, if you were around way back, I think like 2015 and 2017, Capcom released like an old school Ace Attorney style game set during like I think Sherlock Holmes is your partner, so it's set in like the 1800s and everything. And because of copywriting and all this other stuff with the estate of Arthur Conan Doyle and all this other stuff, they couldn't really port it. Something changed with the copyright recently. I think either Sherlock Holmes entered public domain or they just don't pursue it as much anymore, something along those lines. And now they're localizing it. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. It was previously one of those games, like I said earlier, where it was like English patched. Like people had gotten the Japanese version and patched the English into it. But now they're officially releasing it. There's actually 2 games they made in it, in that line of Ace Attorney. So both of those games are going to come out on July. I'm sorry, in like half a month they're coming out with both of these games. So if you're a fan of that, that's pretty cool, because these games were otherwise, I think they were 3DS games first. Now it's a Switch game, which is really cool. I'm glad that finally they were able to release it, because a lot of people were a little bit salty that they did not have an English release for that at all. Now, Nintendo rounded out E3. You already know what I'm probably hyped about. It kind of completely threw a wrench in my plans. Which was fun. I mean, I got nothing against it. But Nintendo came out, first thing, boom, Kazuya's in Smash. Kazuya from Tekken, that is. Life is Strange Remastered and True Colors are coming to Switch. True Colors will come out first on September 10th, whereas Life is Strange Remastered will come out later. Guardians of the Galaxy is coming to Switch. That I could not sit through that. I think Guardians of the Galaxy is just, it's not my type of humor at all. Worms Rumble, Astria Ascending, 2 Point Campus, Super Monkey Ball, Banana Mania will come out, which is, I think it's Monkey Ball 1 and 2, and I think another game, will come out October 5th, 2021. Mario Party Superstars is coming out on October 29th. Now, what this game is basically you play. They updated Super Mario Party. I think I might have talked about this in a podcast, and I said, well, why would they update a 3.5-year-old game? I think it was 2.5-year-old, whatever. And why would they update it with online? And I guess the answer was that they are trying to. They basically used an old, probably more or less dead game as a way to test online for this game. And clearly, I guess it worked out, right? Like, I didn't hear any hitches about it, whatever. So this game is going to have online. You'll be able to save games with your friends and start them up later, which is cool. Awesome, love it, glad to see it. You know, I hopefully Mario Party can only get bigger and better from here, which is always awesome. So I'm probably going to pick this up at some point. Metroid Dread, if you have not seen it, you need to see it. There is a new Metroid game. They said that Prime 4 is still being worked on, so they need more time for it. It's made by the same people who 4 years ago, when they delivered the news about Prime 4, same thing, Mercury Steam, putting in tons of good work, man. I was ecstatic. This made my whole fucking month. It still makes my year at this point. Metroid Dread is Metroid 5. It's a sequel to Fusion. If you had to live it 19 years, or is it 18? It might be 18 years. I think it's just shy of 19 years you had to wait to get this sequel. I lived it. I played that game when I was 7. I'm 26 now, and now I can actually play this game. I'm ecstatic. It really, even just thinking about it now, they added new stuff. It's not a horror game. It's not meant to be a game where the whole game is like you trying to hide from stuff, but Samus is being chased by a robot called the Emmy. It basically hunts her. There's either a bunch of them, or I think there's a bunch of them, and they hunt her throughout the game. I'm so happy. I'm so excited. I want to see what they're gonna do with it. I already got the special edition. I already got the amiibo. You know me. I'm a Metroid fan. I love Metroid, which is funny because like half the games I don't even play in the series, but whatever. I'm very excited to see what they do for it, and I'm very, very pleased with Sakamoto right now. I respect him. I love his IP. The man has great ideas, you know, like the man does good stuff, and I'm willing to just completely forget Other M because this made my whole fucking year, right? Like, I love this shit. And it's going to be an end to the story of, like, Samus and the Metroids. However, it will not be the last game with Samus. There will be future adventures. They just wanted to say, like, this is going to conclude that whole Metroid arc, which started with the X-Parasites and I'm sorry, it didn't start with the X-Parasites. It started with the Metroids, and then it evolved, and it had the whole last Metroid and everything, and the X-Parasites and whatnot. So I got nothing else but good things to say. I will probably talk about this ad nauseum at some point, and it actually kind of fucks with the video I was making. Whatever. DBZ Kakarot will be coming to the Switch with some extra content on September 24th. Mario Golf Super Rush already came out June 25th. Monster Hunter Stories 2 is also coming to, well, I think it is a Switch game anyway, so they showed it off again. There's a new WarioWare game coming out September 10th. Shin Megami Tensei 5 will be coming out on November 12th. They detailed that a little bit, actually, because that was another game that a lot of people were saying, oh, it's never coming out, it's kind of vaporwave-ish. That game is coming out this year. They are also porting, I believe, all 3 Danganronpa games, plus extra stuff, to the Switch. It's going to be called Danganronpa Decadence. It's coming out later this year. It doesn't have a date yet. There's a physical exclusive edition for it as well. Fatal Frame Maiden of the Black Water, which is a Wii U game, is getting ported off the Wii U to the Switch sometime later this year. Again, the list of games on the Switch that were on the Wii U that were Wii U exclusive gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and I love it. Xenoblade X, please. You know I see a lot of people say Devil's Third, Star Fox Zero, Color Splash, but keep it up. That's good stuff. Let's make sure these games don't get left behind. I'm always a fan of that, because I think a lot of them are really good games. Doom Eternal, Ancient Gods Part 1 is already launched, actually, because Doom Eternal is on the Switch, because id Software are really good at porting stuff, I'll tell you that. Even if they had to make concessions, the fact that they made a version of Doom Eternal that runs on the Switch is pretty damn good. That's some code jockeying right there. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 is also coming to the Switch. Strange Brigade, they showed off Mario and Rabbids. Advance Wars 1 and 2 are getting a reboot called Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp, and they're coming to the Switch on December 3rd. Now, if you know what Advance Wars is, you already know I like it. One of my friends really loves it, and it's really cool that they're bringing back a GBA game. It's Intelligent Systems, if I'm not mistaken, so it's kind of cool to see that they're bringing some love to this. Maybe this will lead into a new Advance Wars game set in the style of the original. Days of Ruin is cool and all, but I think a lot more people liked 1 and 2 and Dual Strike. I think you could still get Dual Strike on the Wii U. I might be wrong. Don't quote me on that. Hyrule Warriors got an expansion pass July 18th. which is cool. They announced like how they're gonna path that out. Skyward Sword is obviously coming out in like 2 weeks. Skyward Sword HD, which they showed off. There's also a Game & Watch version of The Legend of Zelda where you can play like they made one for Mario. You could also play this one and like just sort of play your way through old school Zelda style games. I think it's like Zelda 1, 2, Link's Awakening. Let me look it up really quickly. It didn't even appear in my search results. Let's go to GameStop. Oh no, I can't because I have my VPN on. Oops, that sucks. Let's go to Nintendo. Let's see. Yeah, and then there's like another game that you could play in it, but it's The Legend of Zelda from 1987. It's Zelda 2 from 88, and then it's the original Link's Awakening from 93. And Link's Awakening just got its remake, but I think it's still fine because it's meant to be a more classic thing. I'm cool with it because I actually think it's like a cool piece of history. It's a cool piece of just tech to have if you're a fan of Zelda. I'm a fan of Zelda. I might not be the super biggest fan of Zelda, but I am a fan of Zelda. I will say that. So that's always cool to see. And lastly, they talked about Breath of the Wild 2. It will come out on 2022. They're gonna detail more about it later. And to wrap up the big E3 presentation, Bandai Namco basically had a presentation where they showed off Dark Picture House of Ashes. That's it. And like the pre-show, they showed off other things like Scarlet Nexus, Tales of Arise. Like Bandai Namco has stuff coming out, but they literally had a presentation that was one game. And I don't think it was either well communicated at all, because a lot of people, including myself, were like, wait, where's the rest of it? Did it end already? And I think they kind of hoodwinked us. I think they kind of did, kind of play with us a little bit there. But other than that, yeah, that's really it for the fantastic journey back into E3. I mean, I'll be honest with you, this E3 was pretty bad outside of Microsoft and Nintendo. But to be fair, given that the pandemic is still going on and it's still a global thing, I feel like they did the best they could. A lot of these companies, they a lot of development has been hampered, but I mean, it was just short and sweet. There's stuff coming out this year. Like, I thought this year was going to be pretty dead. At least Nintendo, Microsoft, and a couple games from like Bandai and Square are going to keep it busy. So it's all good. It's not the worst thing in the world. Like I said, I'm behind on games anyway, so I might be a little biased. But in any event, thank you all for listening. I appreciate it. I will hope to see you guys later. Have a good one. I'm going to be doing more regular podcasts from here on, keeping my ear to the ground, seeing if anything cool happens. Take it easy.